Is ultra metabolism the reason that you can't get dialed in on TRT? Also, do you need to be dosing testosterone, injectable testosterone, twice a day? I mean, think about this. With cream, right, it really ultimately has a 24-hour or so half-life. After 12 hours, you probably got maybe 25-30% of that cream that's out of the system or metabolized out. In 24 hours, maybe 50%, something to this effect. That's at least what the literature looks like at this point. So with cream, it's commonly suggested that you dose twice a day, right? You dose in the morning, and then you dose somewhere around 7, 8 p.m. Preferably for ultra-rapid metabolizers, you're going to want to dose at 6 a.m. when you wake up, and then at 3 p.m. or if you wake up at 8 a.m. at 5 p.m. But we like to think about, or the community likes to discuss this notion of steady state. And while for some people, steady state's not going to be good. Number one, you don't get enough of a peak of testosterone if you're injecting every day like a long ester. And secondarily, this is theoretical, but likely you've got oversaturation of estradiol at the tissues, which sort of imbalances particularly sexual function. But for ultra rapid metabolizers, which is, by the way, defined by multiple copies of certain enzyme genes that metabolize drugs. I mean, people have this affliction. Among other things, these people, and I've seen this before, so I wanted to bring this to the forefront, might need to be injecting, even if it's a long ester. I mean, you want to get super steady state, but be as steady as possible and have as much androgen at the tissue level as consistently as possible. Then yeah, you might need to be injecting cypionate or enanthate twice a day. But especially so we'll get into that, but especially as it relates to fast acting stuff. And we're going to discuss a favorite protocol of mine of cream and testosterone propionate, where in that case, you apply cream in the morning and you apply prop at like 3 or 4 p.m. Holy shit, you're getting great sustainable levels of high testosterone, effects at the tissue level, great erections, great libido, and a phenomenal time energy-wise and otherwise on TRT. Let's get it. Start the video. Look, Cortex Labs is a performance optimization hormone consulting company for men, largely doing TRT guided sexual dysfunction resolution and performance optimization. Got a range of different products ranging from the Source List, which is a compilation of trusted vendors for all anabolics, including high potency DHT, test of all esters, among other things. You can get down in the description of this video or at livecortex.com. We sell a nootropic stack that I build. It's basically Adderall without the side effects. Very, very powerful. It's called Torque. You get that down in the description of this video as well. Lastly, I'm a coach on TRT protocol restructuring and long-term sexual dysfunction resolution. You can hire me for any of those things in under a minute at livecortex.com. All right, so listen, the bottom line is in coaching, I've seen this weird phenomenon of ultra rapid metabolizers, which do exist, where like even if they're injecting something that would keep you steady state, like testosterone enanthate or testosterone cypionate, they need to inject more and more at a time, ultimately rendering these non-TRT doses of 300 milligrams plus per week, which carries a stigma and dissuades these people from executing those protocols. What I've really had to do in coaching people on TRT, especially people with PFS or longstanding erectile dysfunction and libido problems, is step completely outside of the box, right? And be a little contrarian. I don't like to be contrarian. I'm not one of those guys. If you see people out there, by the way, there's many YouTubers like this that just need to be contrarian in every fucking thing they say. You should probably walk the other direction. I don't even want to be like that, but I have seen in these cases where I sort of have to think outside of the box and do unorthodox things to dial people in. First cut is a deep end. I can't believe I'm singing that song. I don't know where I heard it. I don't know where I fucking heard it, bro. I must have been the store this morning. The first cut is the deepest. Baby, I know. Okay, so look, the metabolism of testosterone is pretty simple. The liver metabolizes testosterone. It's the primary site. About 50% of your testosterone is metabolized via the conjugation process into testosterone glucuronidase, which ultimately gets excreted in your urine. If you metabolize testosterone too quickly, you turn a lot of your testosterone into basically excretable urinary metabolite of testosterone, and you don't get the effects at the tissues consistently enough to fix problems like sexual dysfunction, libido problem. Now, the group of enzymes responsible for this are the P4-550 enzymes, which for those of you into physiology or metabolism relative to physiology probably understand those enzymes and that there's a host of them. I mean, look, CYP1A2, it's a CYP enzyme that metabolizes drugs. CYP2C9, a CYP enzyme that metabolizes drugs. CYP2C19, another CYP enzyme that metabolizes drugs. And the list ultimately goes on. There are a bunch of different enzymes that metabolize drugs, and one of them is an enzyme called CYP2 2C19, as we briefly went over before, it's an enzyme that metabolizes medicines to remove them from the body. And that enzyme particularly is the one that you've either got multiple genetic copies of it, or it functions at a rapid rate in ultra rapid metabolizers. How does the CYP2C19 enzyme work? Well, the enzyme works to process and metabolize medicine to remove it from your body. There are many medications that are metabolized by CYP2C19. Now, this is the really important part here. While others have the CYP2C19 enzyme that works better than average, rapid, and ultra metabolizers, when people in these groups take normal doses of medications that are metabolized by CYP2C19, they may not see the wanted effect of the medication, experiencing either treatment failure or side effects. Small changes in the genetic basis for this enzyme, the CYP2C19 gene, changes how you break down medications. Ultimately, subjects that are ultra rapid metabolizers have multiple copies of the CYP2D6 gene. All right, so there's that gene, and then there's the CYP2D6 gene, okay? In people that are ultra rapid metabolizers, they've got multiple copies of this gene and therefore greater than normal CYP2D6 function. Now, this classifies ultra metabolizers in like a small little subset. They say it's 3% of people, but quite frankly, in coaching, as it relates to pharmacokinetics of testosterone, I've seen it be more than 3%. It's not a large percent of people, but I'd estimate probably 5-6%, maybe even 7% of people are ultra rapid metabolizers. Now let's get into practical brass tacks here and what I've seen in ultra rapid metabolizers and some of the stuff that we've got to do in order to keep them really functional. We're going to start with HCG. And this is a real weird one. Again, I don't like being contrarian. I hate even talking about this sort of stuff because it is just not the masses. I mean, most people are just going to metabolize testosterone completely fine. But there are individuals who need a sort of steady state intratesticular testosterone and steady state functional testicles, epididymal 5-alpha DHT conversion, and seminal vesicle function. And those people, because you can't dose HCG for a lot of these individuals in 500 IU at a time because it just stimulates Leydig cell aromatization independent of the increase of testosterone. We discussed this on a live stream recently. So they've got to be dosed in 250 IU in the morning of HCG. However, by the next day, all right, there's been informal studies on this, that 250 IU of HCG in terms of serum HCG is completely out of the system. So you don't get, we talk about steady state being so necessary for testosterone, but in the case of like 250 IU of HCG, you're not getting steady state HCG, even if you're dosing every day 250 IU. 24 hours later, that HCG is either out of the system or you've got like very minute amounts in milli-international units of serum HCG in the blood. So the first practical takeaway is for some of these individuals that might be ultra rapid metabolizers and or that need steady state HCG in the system to function good sexually, they need to dose 250 IU of HCG in the morning and 250 IU of HCG at like 4 or 5 p.m. Yes, that sounds cumbersome. Yes, it's a pain in the ass. It's like, yes, it takes time out of your day, which is ultimately really about a minute if you've got like all your processes refined. But look, if you can't get erections and libido on TRT, like if you tried everything, like it is worth it to inject HCG twice a day. I have seen this, not in a lot of people, but in some people. All right, so that's takeaway number one. Now let's talk about practical brass tack strategies where I've seen this have to be applied as it relates to testosterone. Very few of these individuals will have to inject testosterone enanthate twice a day. Okay, I've seen that before. We're talking about 20 milligrams, 15 to 20 milligrams in the morning, 15 to 20 milligrams at like 3 or 4 p.m. There, okay, they get such a very consistent, steady state of androgens at the tissues. And these people that have got venous leakage and pelvic floor muscle dysfunction, really weakening of the ischiocavernous and the bulbocavernous muscles, which work to keep blood trapped in the penis so that you can maintain an erection. Folks that might have smooth muscle damage from androgen deprivation or longstanding hypogonadism, and they've got endothelial nitric oxide impairment in the penis, and all those things work together in just this cacophony, really this negative fucking symphony, actually, to inhibit erectile quality even on pretty high doses of TRT. In those cases, these people need to be injecting 15 to 20 milligrams enanthate in the morning, 50 to 20 milligrams enanthate, later in the day. Now, what that ultimately ends up being, if you're injecting 40 milligrams a day, is 280 milligrams a week. And this is what, really freaks people out, right? It stops people from going down that path because Reddit has stigmatized anything over 150 as a testosterone cycle, which is just not reality. I mean, the common prescription of testosterone cream is a 200 milligram per milliliter Topiclick container and 4 pumps a day, 2 in the morning and then 2 sometime 10 to 12 hours later. Do you know how high you're peaking on that? Like a mere 3 pumps in the morning and you're peaking at about 1100, right? If you're steady state at 2 and 2, some guys are peaking at 1600 with that. Yeah, that's what you would consider, these Redditors would consider like cycle level territory. But the most extreme cases of this, and this is usually people that just haven't had good erections for a while. This was prior to TRT. When they get on TRT at these regular cookie cutter doses or what we would consider normal doses, they're still literally dead down there. No morning erections, no nocturnal erections, no nothing. These individuals do really good on kind of a high dose hybrid cream prop protocol. And by that, I mean, here's one such example. 3 pumps transcrotal cream, 200 milligrams per milliliter, Versa base or HRT base, in the morning transcrotally. And then at 3 p.m., 3 to 4 p.m., let's call it, 30 to 40 milligrams of testosterone propionate. Now, this is where this scares people, right? If you go to Steroid Plotter and punch in 40 milligrams of testosterone propionate, we're going to do this every day because this, in this case, would be every day in addition to 3 pumps of cream in the morning. This is where people get fucking scared about this. And then it's stigmatized as a cycle because ultimately what this ends up rendering steady state-ish is 2100 nanograms per deciliter. Like, everyone on Reddit, these people that want to shame you for dosing high testosterone because you might need it, would call that a cycle and say that, you're just not doing your protocol right or whatever other bullshit that might come out of their mouths. Truth is, with ultra rapid metabolizers, they're not getting anywhere near steady state 2000 nanograms per deciliter. I've seen it on the bloods. I mean, you got people running 40 milligrams of testosterone propionate a day. And yeah, they might peak at 1600, 17, maybe even 2000. But because they're metabolizing testosterone so quickly, if they inject 40 milligrams of prop at 3 p.m. by the next morning when we run labs, they're at like 850. Yeah, that's how quick some people metabolize testosterone. And in these cases, you might think 850 is good, but in these cases, these guys need steady state high levels of androgens exposed to the tissues consistently in order to get some of the upregulation of endothelial function, the restoration of nitric oxide synthase, nitric oxide signaling to optimize the pelvic floor muscles so that you can put pressure on the vasculature of the penis so that you hold blood, also known as an erection, that stays. And that's just ultimately what they need. So the reason I brought this up is I want people to not be dissuaded by the stigma of like higher dose testosterone, because 40 milligrams a day in and of itself without 3 pumps of cream is 280 milligrams of testosterone a week. People would call that a mini cycle. I've run 280 milligrams testosterone a week, and believe me, I'm not an ultra rapid metabolizer, but I metabolize relatively quickly. That's not a cycle, man. Now, there's a couple really important things that this does. Like this, let's couch it at this protocol. So I want to expand upon this protocol of running 3 pumps transcrotal cream in the morning and 40 milligrams of prop at about 3 or 4 p.m. Number one, from the transcrotal cream, assuming that your 5-alpha reductase enzymes and the 5-alpha reductase enzyme gene, which by the way provides instructions to make the 5-alpha reductase reductase enzyme. It's called the SRD5 alpha 2 gene. This is the gene that people that have got DHT deficiency, 5 alpha reductase deficiency, and end up as their youths like having kind of micropenis situations and not developing the sex organs. They've got deficiencies in that gene. So assuming all of that is correct and functioning pretty optimally, 3 pumps of transcranial cream in the morning is going to increase the serum dihydrotestosterone, which doesn't necessarily necessitate or dictate exclusively how at the tissue level the DHT is going to be used, but it's a pretty good start. Getting that much DHT right in the morning, very useful. After all, DHT is the active androgen in restoring erectile function in castration. I mean, there's been rat studies on that have been pretty conclusive. And DHT, because it's got a higher time duration at the receptor, meaning it disassociates from the AR, like 5 times less or something than testosterone. DHT is pretty critical for maintaining erectile function in men. So you've got that base of DHT, you also have a good degree of testosterone, and you've got some conversion to estradiol. Now, on top of that, though, at 3 p.m., once that cream starts to kind of trough, because it will, in ultra rapid metabolizers or even rapid metabolizers, doesn't have to be necessarily ultra rapid, but pretty quick metabolizers, at 4 p.m., the testosterone levels are going to start going down. Or at the tissue level, your body may stop providing that testosterone at the tissue while remaining relatively okay or stable in the serum. This is stuff that hasn't been studied, that we don't know. So you've got to sort of try to account for this when you're designing your own protocol. If this is the case and people are, they're metabolizing their testosterone into testosterone glucuronidine, which is being urinated out of their body, the infusion of 40 milligrams of prop then at 3 or 4 p.m. adds not only a peak in testosterone that peaks relatively quickly, but also more conversion to DHT. And then from 3 p.m. all the way till the next morning at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m., they don't inject, they don't put cream on, but that was enough steady state to get all the androgen receptor activation and the subsequent genetic cascades that they need to feel their testosterone and that their tissues need to recover from erection issues, libido issues, otherwise issues related to longstanding hypogonadism, or in this case, just not having enough testosterone at the tissues via being an ultra rapid metabolizer. So in these cases, yes, those people are in fact dosing what Reddit would consider, or what a good disproportionate amount of people frankly would consider, cycle levels of testosterone, but it's the only thing that fixes their erections. Interestingly, I see people like this that when they're on 150, 200 milligrams of NFA, whatever, 20 milligrams, 30 milligrams of prop a day, I mean, these are relatively high doses of testosterone, they can't put on muscle. Okay, this is case in point. These guys they're not anabolic, dude. And they look in shape and they're better, in terms of fat metabolism and lean muscle mass versus fat distribution. But they go to the gym and they're worn out, they're lifting and they're just not really putting on mass. They just can't put on mass. But you get them on these very, very steady state fast acting ester protocols, and suddenly within a month I'm seeing transformations. I'm getting pictures from guys like, I had a guy on 8 pumps of cream. One of these ultra rapid metabolizers, probably, we're still investigating actually, finally started putting on muscle with 8 pumps. There was a day he went to 10 pumps of testosterone cream. I mean, this is a real phenomenon, boys. So I think the question to ask is how do you know if you're an ultra rapid metabolizer? The answer is, I don't know if there is testing for that. You could probably pay $1,000 or more and get testing on some of these CYP liver enzymes that metabolize various drugs. I don't know that there's a test for testosterone glucuronidine to see how much of it's actually being excreted in your urine. I mean, this is probably an underdeveloped field of medicine. But generally speaking, you really have to just go out and take a chance. If you're not getting a resolution of a specifically sexual function symptoms on regular doses of testosterone, you're gonna have to take a chance and dose multiple times a day. You might need to dose HCG twice a day. You might need to dose cream in the morning and prop at 3 p.m. You might need to run high dose cream, but twice a day. And you might need to squeeze those intervals closer together. Whereas instead of it being the typical suggestion of testosterone cream, 3 pumps, 2 pumps in the morning at 7 a.m., and then 2 pumps testosterone cream like 12 hours later or before you go to bed at 10 p.m., you might need to condense those applications to 1 at 7 a.m. and 1 at 2 p.m., 1 at 6 a.m. and, 2 pumps in this case at 3 p.m. Same thing goes for HCG, for people that are ultra metabolizers or that they need steady, really steady state. Like we're taking it further than the notion of steady state at this point. Intratesticular function, again, epididymal DHT conversion, seminal vesicle production of seminal fluid, general intratesticular 5-alpha dihydrotestosterone, which plays such a key critical role in all matter of sexual function. Then yeah, you might need to run HCG in the morning, 250 IU. And HCG at 4 or 5 p.m., 3 p.m., right around that time frame, 250 IU of HCG. Now, in all these cases, okay, I'll just say last thing, just to sort of wrap it up. If estrogen becomes a problem, which it may or may not, right? I mean, there are individuals whose, the more I coach on this, the more I see wacky stuff where like a guy at 800 total tests and 30 estradiol doesn't have good sexual function, so we think he needs to take the estradiol lower. But if you can somehow, either through injecting estradiol enanthate or really jacking up that HCG dose, take them to 860 total tests, but 50 or 60 of estradiol, then they have their libido and then they have their erections back. So, largely it's the other way around, but it runs the gamut and sometimes it's that. But if it's the other way around, estrogen control in a lot of these cases does need to be employed, which is in and of itself a difficult thing to do, but it's doable. You're putting in a good degree of substrate for aromatization. And again, with HCG, you stimulate the Leydig cells to make estradiol independent of whatever's happening with testosterone. It's a different mechanism by which that happens. So it's going to require some protocol management, but I just wanted to put this out there because, I was kind of waiting for enough of these situations for it to be content on this video. I've been seeing it for about 5 years, but again, it's a small percentage of people. But I just got like 2 or 3 in the last, 3-4 months or something that are ultra rapid metabolizers. And I wanted to bring this to people's attention because my job here is to step out of the box when I need to and offer insights into what I am seeing at the 5,000 foot level that are typically not discussed and even frowned upon on the forums. All right, boys, as I said at the beginning, look, I'm a coach on TRT protocol restructuring, whether it's a one-off call with me where I'm going to redesign your protocol and put it on an online document with the best of my skills, history, and ability to get you dialed in, or for long-standing sexual dysfunction, whether TRT or not, erection issues, libido issues, we've got one-on-one packages for that, 3 months, 6 months, and 1 year respectively, where one-on-one you're working with me every other day. I'm designing your entire architecture of your protocol, and I'm with you every step of the way. You can hire me for any of that stuff in under a minute at livecortex.com. There are slots open on the bigger packages. Pull the trigger now, and if you need a discount, email me, ryan@livecortex.com. If you're serious about signing up, I will get you a discount. Source list, for those of you that want to take matters into your own hands and get 20% DHT gel, DHT powder, test of all esters, Proviron, test prop, test suspension, test powder, whatever it is that you want, HCG for cheaper. This is why I created this source list. It's been instrumental for me. It's been instrumental for, at this point, innumerable amounts of people that have purchased the source list and are now using it. Sometimes you have to circumvent your clinic as well, boys. Your clinic is not there to, they have too many clients, they're not there to dial you in, man. They're there to sell you testosterone. So you got to take the stuff in your own hands at some points. And the most important or the best resource for that at this point is Source List. Work Stack, I've already said enough about this. Very, very powerful nootropic stack. It's better than Red Bull. You combine it with Red Bull, you're going to have a good time and your brain's going to be functioning well. Find it down in the description of this video. Go buy a bottle. You're going to love this stack. All right, everybody. Listen, I appreciate the fact that you've been with me through this whole breakdown. If you are still with me, please hit the like button. It makes a huge difference. I would be indebted to you if you would just hit the like button. Hit the like button, bro. Otherwise, sub to the channel. More breakdowns like this on TRT, hormone optimization, erectile function, libido optimization, hosts of other topics. Really appreciate your sub. Have a great day. Hope you had a great weekend. More content coming this week. And boys, I'll talk to you on the next one.